Hi, I apologize for my hair being iffy. I'm doing this early in the morning than I used to. So, the topic is like what you'll do in the book. They write about collegians. So, what you'll do after that experience once you know you have bipolar disorder and maybe your plans for life are going to be altered, um, not completely altered, but altered to have your life and the main thing you're going to do with your life work together. Um, we have a story of Reuben and Beth. Um, I think it would make sense if I get that far. So this is the last chapter in the book. So the good advice from Fetterman, PhD, and Thompson, Jr., MD, it'll probably end their wisdom. And I might find another book that we stay with. I also found some about accommodations and modifications, which I said I would research. And there's a chunk, not a huge chunk, in my dissertation. So I might do that. And then I have so many books, like look for the book that picks up where we are and, moves us along some kind of paradigm. Don't mind me, this is my morning Coke. Okay, so last chapter in the book that I love, it's called Looking Forward. I have some highlighted things in the chapter before we get to Reuben and Beth. And after Reuben and Beth, the authors tie it together. By now, you've come to see that life with bipolar will probably be a different life. It won't necessarily be a bad one, but being bipolar means you have one large variable that's going to affect many of your choices as your future unfolds. In your late teens or 20s, you're, you're still very much giving shape to this storyline. You're dreaming, searching, striving, working, hoping, and sometimes just trying to see what comes next. But unlike most people, got this thing called bipolar that you've got to factor in the mix. Unfortunately, you need to factor it in the mix. The big question for you is what will become of your life as a result of the disorder? Maybe, do you have to let go of your hopes and dreams? Maybe, maybe not. Think about your hopes and dreams in relation to the 4 S's. I should go back and find them, but I'll just remind you: SNAP, sleep, nutrition, exercise, and keeping people in your life. Can you realistically be successful in maintaining your mood stability in the life you envision? So I'm going to read most of Reuben's story until we get to what the authors are going to comment about, which might be a natural break. I need to wet my whistle. Okay, Reuben. Reuben sits in a psychologist's office and tries to wrap his mind around the fact that he won't be able to continue in his university's ROTC program. The implications for his future are almost more than he can take in all at once. It's truly like the hopes and dreams are crashing. Reuben is the youngest of 3 brothers and a first generation. Reuben is the youngest of 3 brothers and a first generation Latino college student who had been hoping to follow in the footsteps of his father, who had enlisted in the Marines at 18 and risen to the rank of sergeant major. Reuben had been a good student through junior high and high school, with sports often being the strong organizing influence in his life. At the age of 17, he had the opportunity to attend an exhibition of Air Force jet pilots. It was then that he knew what he wanted to do. He couldn't imagine anything more exciting and fulfilling than being a fighter pilot. When he subsequently met with a Navy recruiter, it appeared that his ticket to the career was available through your university ROTC enrollment. During Reuben's senior year of high school, his fantasy of becoming a Top Gun fighter pilot was amplified by experiences where he was flying high with energy and personal confidence. In his mind, there seemed to be no limit to what he might accomplish. And while he loved this intensity, it also sometimes felt like it was too much. Like the energy and expansive thinking were too big to easily contain. At those times, the rigors of high school football practice were just what the doctor ordered. An afternoon of blocking, running, tackling helped Reuben to feel like he could come back down to earth. He also sometimes had his older brother buy him a six-pack, which used to knock down his energy and help him fall asleep. Since these strategies seemed to work and Reuben didn't want to consider that anything could possibly be wrong, he pretty much dismissed his energetic spikes as just being a passing phase of adolescence. Besides, sometimes the intense energy was exactly what he needed. It fortified his sense of masculinity, and it served him well with family and friends among them. Competitive intensity wasn't a bad thing to have. Reuben also figured that things would level out once he went to college and settled into the combination of academics and ROTC military structure. Reuben was admitted to a well-known university that also provided him a full ROTC scholarship. This was exciting, and it meant a college education was possible. He would also be able to bring honor and pride to his family through his own military career. Reuben's first year at school went well, and he felt relieved that his struggles with mood and energy seemed to be over. But his sophomore year there was much more challenging. Not only had the work been more difficult, but also Reuben had a larger time keeping things on an heel throughout fall semester. This confirmed to him at the beginning of spring semester when his ROTC commander met with Reuben and told him that he wanted him to be seen at the university's counseling center. Reuben was also informed that several other officers on the faculty had noticed his intense behavior. Reuben was surprised. After all, wasn't this intensity the very essence of what they were looking for in a naval aviator? In reality, Reuben's intensity wasn't a good sign. Things hadn't leveled out as he had hoped. In fact, there had been a few instances where the only way that Reuben could gain some control over his energy was to resort to excessive exercise at the gym or marathon-like runs, sometimes well into the early morning hours. Though no one yet knew how much he was struggling, Reuben did know that whatever was going on with him was more serious than just a passing phase. That the fact that others were noticing his intensity and that he had been referred for mental health evaluation also meant that his high-flying hopes and dreams might have to undergo serious revision. Now a university psychologist was telling Reuben that he might have something called bipolar disorder, which was likely which would likely end his military aspirations. If not a fighter pilot, then what? A teacher, an engineer, something in the computer sciences? Nothing came close, absolutely nothing. Reuben felt a strong sense of loss, perhaps more profound than he had ever known. Could he accomplish anything? Could he even finish his college degree? As he began to grasp that his military plans were no longer realistic, Reuben had no idea what he was going to put in their place. So that's sad. It's sad for anyone who has this like dream from youth and the this ROTC scholarship was the exact path he needed, the financial plan and the setup for where he wanted to go. If he didn't sense what he had, people around him must have. It wasn't a depression, it was having this excess energy, having his brother or somebody bring over a six pack for him to calm down. Like there were all these things we can see because we're outside of Reuben's thinking process. So let's see what our experts feel that Reuben can be realistic about. Reuben's dilemma is that his career related hopes and dreams were incompatible with the realities of being bipolar. Most likely, he would receive medicine to control his mood and energy. This too would be incompatible with ROTC requirements. And even if medication were not an issue, could Reuben truly count on the disorder not getting in the way of his functioning within the military? Life in the military, especially for a fighter pilot, is anything but a low stress lifestyle. Reuben already knew that his excessive energy sometimes impaired his attention and concentration. He couldn't, in good conscience, place himself in a situation where his instability might put others' lives at risk. And certainly the military wouldn't allow that either. Now let's imagine a very different scenario for Reuben in which he wasn't at all inclined to join the military. In this alternative life track, let's assume he decided on a career in culinary arts and he obtained a scholarship to attend a 3-year culinary school. His goal was to become a restaurant chef with an emphasis on South American cuisine. In the best of all worlds, let's also assume that Reuben's family, even his career military father, is fully supportive of his choices. Apart from the anticipated ups and downs of life with the bipolar disorder, there's nothing inherently unhealthy or risky about Reuben's career goals. Probably the big risk is that becoming a successful chef is a difficult undertaking. The restaurant business is very demanding, often with extended work hours. Additionally, the experience of working in a busy kitchen is far from stress-free. But realistic, isn't that the case with most demanding careers? We don't get to be successful and achieve our goals without undergoing some periods of sustained stress. As we said in chapter 4, your success with bipolar disorder has everything to do with managing your stresses rather than finding work settings that are stress-free. Let me read that again. As we said in chapter 4, your success with bipolar disorder has everything to do with managing your stresses rather than finding work settings. Oh man, I'm having trouble deciphering this. Let me read it again slow because they're doing a negative and a positive here. As we said in chapter 4, your success with bipolar disorder has everything to do with managing your successes rather than finding work settings that are stress free. So what they're saying is a work that anybody picks is not going to be without stress. Okay. But the managing of your bipolar symptoms, possibly bipolar medications, possibly regular psychiatrists and counseling visits, it can work. And in this alternative route, he doesn't have the stress of a fighter jet pilot. He doesn't have the stress of life or death situations. I am sure, and I thought it was going to come out, that he first got depressed, realizing dreams weren't coming true. And it seems like he must have gotten once, and there must have been some interest in South American cuisine and learning to be a chef. So that sets up a happy ending for Reuben. We don't have time to do Beth, okay? Because I want to give her time because she has her own story and her own oh, there's a Catherine too. Well, we may end up doing 3 days to finish this book, and that's fine. At 1640, and that's close enough to 20 minutes. So we're all people whose life has turned out or might turn out, or you know somebody that their life has turned out with bipolar disorder. Adjustments. Something else that long-term can make you happy, but perhaps has less stress, and certainly life and death stress, because the military personnel already had figured out his situation. It just wouldn't be safe for him and others to pursue that. So have a happy Thursday. I look forward to any notes you can drop me. And I'm excited that I got to do this session on my laptop. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.